Hi everyone and welcome. Today, we're going to learn something super cool about money. We're going to uncover the secret of how a bank account really works and understand the power of something called simple interest.
Okay, let me start by asking you a question. What if your money could make more money, all by itself, without you having to do a single thing? It sounds a little bit like magic, doesn't it? Well, guess what? It's not magic. It's what happens when you put your money in a bank.
This magic has a name, and it's called interest. Now, the easiest way to think about it is like this. Interest is like the rent a bank pays you for letting them borrow or use your money. They pay you a little extra as a thank you.
So, how do we figure out exactly how much extra money you can earn? For that, we need a special tool. Let's learn the magic formula.
Here it is. It says I equals P times R times T, and all of that is divided by 100. Now, I know what you might be thinking, that looks a little complicated with all those letters, but trust me, once we break it down, you'll see it's actually really simple.
Let's look at each piece. P stands for principal. That's just a fancy word for your starting amount of money. R is the rate, which is the percentage the bank is going to pay you each year. T is for time, and that's just how many years you leave the money in the bank. And finally, I is the interest, the whole reason we're here. It's the extra money you earn. See? Not so bad.
You know, the best way to understand this is to just use it. So let's look at a real-life example. Let's meet a boy named Rohan, and we're going to help him figure out how much money his special gift can make. So here's the story. Rohan's father gives him a gift of 1,000 rupees, and Rohan, being a smart kid, decides to put it in a bank. The bank offers him a 5% simple interest rate per year, and he plans to leave it there for 3 years. Our job is to figure out how much extra money he earned.
All right, first things first, let's find our P for principal. Remember, that's the starting amount of money. In Rohan's story, how much did he start with? That's right, 1,000 rupees. So P equals 1,000.
Next up is R for rate. The problem tells us the bank pays 5% simple interest per year. So our rate is 5. Easy.
And finally, we need T for time. How long did the story say Rohan's money would be in the bank? Exactly, 3 years. So T equals 3.
Perfect. We have our P, our R, and our T. Now all we have to do is plug them into our formula. So the interest I equals 1,000 times 5 times 3, all divided by 100.
Let's do the math on the top part first. 1,000 times 5 is 5,000, and 5,000 times 3 is 15,000. So now our problem is much simpler. I equals 15,000 divided by 100. So what is 15,000 divided by 100? Well, here's a little trick. You can just knock off the last 2 zeros, and you get 150. So after 3 years, Rohan earned an extra 150 rupees just by letting his money sit in the bank. How cool is that? It's free money! That's fantastic. Rohan earned 150 rupees. But hold on, that's just the interest. How much money does he have in his account in total after those 3 years? Let's find out.
This is the easiest part of all, I promise. To find the total amount, you just take the starting money, the principal, and you add the extra money you earned, the interest.
So for Rohan, that's his starting 1,000 rupees plus the 150 rupees in interest he just earned. Add them together, and Rohan now has a total of 1,150 rupees. You can see exactly how his money grew all by itself. Okay, you've seen how it's done, and I think you're ready. It's your turn to be the mathematician. Let's try a couple of practice problems.
Here's the first one. Priya puts 5,000 rupees in a bank. The rate is 10%, and she leaves it for just 1 year. Can you figure out A, how much interest she'll earn, and B, what her total amount will be? Go ahead and pause here, grab a piece of paper, and give it a try.
All right, are you ready for the answer? For part A, we calculate the interest. That's 5,000 times 10 times 1. That gives us 50,000. Divide that by 100, and you get 500 rupees in interest. For part B, we just add that to our starting amount. 5,000 plus 500 gives a total of 5,500 rupees. Great job if you got that right.
Now for our next problem, let's look at the other side of interest. It doesn't just work for saving, it also works for borrowing money, which is called a loan. So Arjun takes a 10,000 rupee loan at a 12% interest rate for 2 years. How much interest will he have to pay, and what's the total amount he must pay back? Pause and try this one out.
Let's check your work. The interest he has to pay is 10,000 times 12 times 2, all divided by 100. That comes out to 2,400 rupees. So the total amount he must pay back is his original loan of 10,000 rupees plus the 2,400 in interest for a grand total of 12,400 rupees.
And just like that, you've done it. You've mastered the formula for simple interest. You now understand how money can grow over time and also the cost of borrowing money. So the only question left is the most important one. Now that you know this secret, how are you going to make it work for you? Thanks for learning with me today.